It's time now for The Opinions Matter, a look deep inside the local issues, events, and policies affecting the Mercer County residents. Here's your host, Joe Fabrizi.
Good afternoon, and welcome once again to Opinions Matter. We are very fortunate to have as our guest today a lady from West Windsor, Councilwoman Virginia Manzari. By the way, West Windsor has a nonpartisan form of mayor-council type government, but I do want to mention that the councilwoman is a Republican. And if you'd like to join in today, the number to call is 215-949-3232. As always, before we begin, I want to mention a significant event which took place on this day. In 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor became the first female U.S. Supreme Court Justice in history when she was sworn in by Chief Justice Warren Burger. Following are three quotes from Justice O'Connor. If parents instill a sense of civic-mindedness, and there is no better way to do that than by example, their children will probably follow. Another quote. Half the states have stopped making civics and government a requirement for high school. Half! And finally, we pay a price when we deprive children of the exposure to the values, principles, and education they need to make them good citizens. Councilwoman Manzari, I want to welcome you, and I want to thank you for sharing your time with us today. And, I'd like to have, your thoughts about the quotes from Justice O'Connor.
Joe, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. You know what? I couldn't agree more with Justice O'Connor. I think that education has taken a turn for the worse in this country, and they're not teaching a lot of the things that they taught even when I was a kid, which wasn't that long ago. Wink, wink. But seriously, the kids today are sort of getting whitewashed history. They're not getting civics classes. They're really not taught about government. You see these videos where people go out and they ask college students or people on the street to answer simple questions about the Constitution or about our form of government, and they can't answer the questions. And it's really sad, and it's scary, and in my opinion, it's a little bit pathetic. And really, I think what they're exposed to today in this whole age of social media is they just get sound bites from politicians. They're not really hearing about what the real issues are. They don't know what the process is of running a government and representing residents and citizens, and all they get are really divisive sound bites. Mm-hmm. That does a disservice to all our citizens, but especially our kids.
Yes, and I think probably the missing link here is being able to, even, let's say with a basic high school education, being able to put the dots together, like, how geography and politics correspond. Mm-hmm. Those are the things, and that basically is just teaching people how to think. It's interesting because, I come out of the building trades, and as you were told before we came on, I'm a union guy. Yep. And, I teach actually over at the vocational school in the evenings.
Oh, very good.
And, people, we have young people there that go out and buy a multitude of tools, they have every tool known to man. But yet, they don't know yet when to use them. So it's kind of useless. It's sort of like when getting an education, and even some of these college people that I see today. Mm-hmm. And I think to myself, I said, wow, with my limited education, the exposure that I have, I thirsted for more, so I read and what have you.
Right.
And I see these people, and they kind of stop there, and they're not taught how to think. They have this, and even if they have the tools available, they really do not know how to use them.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. I look at it in a very practical way. If you can have all these tools, but if you don't know how and when to use them, it's ineffective.
Yeah. You really have to be taught the basics. You have to be taught the principles, and then you have to really learn critical thinking skills and research skills and decision-making skills and all of those kinds of things that they're not teaching in school. It's really, up to parents to do, which is fine. I mean, I believe in the parents raising your own kids, not letting the schools raise your kids for you or somebody else raise your kids for you. But, there's just a certain amount of, you mentioned civics. Those kinds of things aren't being taught. I mean, kids aren't being taught, cursive. They're not being taught typing. Well, what are you supposed to do? Is it all going to be just dictating into things? I mean, can you read the Constitution anymore? That's written in cursive. I mean, there's just some, I guess I'm sounding pretty old school, but, and then the other thing is there's really a push for every kid to go to college. Not every kid should be going to college. Everybody has their own God-given gifts, and you do what you're good at and what you're interested in. And, some kids should learn the trades. Some kids shouldn't go to college. Some kids, maybe they're cut out to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Very true.
Other kids aren't. So
before we go on, and
Yep.
we're really taking off on this thing.
Sorry, I'd like to talk a lot.
No, well, it's going well. But I would like for you to let our everyone know, our audience know, everyone at home, what your educational background is, and
Okay.
If you'd like to share some information about your family, that kind of thing.
Sure.
You did mention family and children and so forth.
Yep. So I grew up in Pennsylvania, in central Pennsylvania, outside of Harrisburg.
Okay.
And I went to a small state school in Pennsylvania, Shippensburg, and I was a teacher for a number of years. And then, I worked actually in the cell phone business back when that was just a brand new technology that was coming on the scene. And I literally had a guy ask me, so how do these things work? Is it like a really long extension cord? So that tells you a little bit about how far, how long ago that was. And then after that, I went back to school and I got my MBA from Cornell University and ended up working in Manhattan for several years. And I worked for, I did an internship with Procter & Gamble. I worked for Pfizer in their consumer side. And then I worked for Johnson & Johnson. That's what brought me to New Jersey. And I worked in brand management, new business development, and strategic marketing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so really enjoyed it.
And you have a family, you said.
I do. So been married to my husband for, oh my goodness, let's see, 21 years. And I have 2 kids. My son is a junior in high school, and my daughter is a sophomore in college.
Okay.
So.
Very good, very good. And can I ask you what caused you to enter the political arena?
Sure. So, when my kids were little, I was, involved a lot in their schools, and I really wasn't very politically motivated or interested. I didn't know a lot about politics, and just through a neighborhood chat, I found out about a large development with a lot of housing that was coming up and being considered in West Windsor. And I started asking around. I was getting a lot of conflicting information about it. And so I went to the source, I went to the township, and found out that they had done, they had a consultant do a research study of that. And I printed that out. It was a couple hundred pages, and I read through that. And I went to a meeting where some council candidates were having a Q&A and a little bit of a discussion, and listened and waited, and it was my turn. I held it up and I said, have any of you guys even read this? Because it doesn't sound like you have. There are a lot of important facts here that, the township paid a consultant to find out this information, and nobody's even paying any attention to it. And this is gigantic, and you really need to look at these facts. And one of the candidates was Charlie Morgan, who you probably know, and he said, I couldn't agree with you more, and if I'm elected, I'm going to put together this committee, and I would like you to be on it. And sure enough, he and his whole slate won, and about a week after the election, Will Anklewicz called me, and he had run with Charlie, and he said, we're doing this, and we'd like you to be a part of it.
Wow.
And so that was really the beginning. And I've served on the zoning board and the site plan review advisory board, and that first committee was the documents review committee. So we would look at potential resolutions and ordinances and figure out, did we think that they were really going to accomplish what we wanted them to accomplish, or were there going to be unintended consequences because of the way we were phrasing things and wording things, and did the data really back up what we were trying to do? So that's how I got involved, and it's been great. I've been going on and off to council meetings over the years, and finally decided to run a couple of years ago.
So your thoughts about women in government?
Yeah, so look, I think women can do anything that they want to do. I was raised that way. My mom was a single mom. My dad unfortunately passed away when I was a baby, and so my mom raised us, and she was sort of superwoman to me. And she worked a part-time job, and she raised me and my brothers, and I was just taught that I could do whatever I wanted to do. I just had to go for it and get the education and get the experience and be creative and just go for it. And I think that's true of anything, not just women in government, but women in anything.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
You're a Republican.
Yep.
And I'd just like to get your opinion on the Me Too movement.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So in my experience, I've not had any experiences where, anybody has done anything illegal with me. Now, has anybody ever said anything off color or made a dirty joke or whatever? Of course. Who hasn't had that experience? I think that this movement has gone so far that, people you can't be offended by everything. Yeah. I'm probably going to upset some people by this, but you can't be offended by everything. What next? It's like words offend people. Well, you can't call somebody, you can't use this phrase to describe somebody, so you have to change it to this other phrase. And then a year later, that phrase offends somebody, and you got to change it to something else. And then a year later, it's something different. When does it end? We're supposed to be this country where people have the right to free speech, and you can talk about
open
all
society,
kinds of things, right, without, being shamed. I mean, that's what I see a lot now, is that if you don't agree with a particular group of people, they're going to shame you and shut you up. And I see this happening. I see articles about it happening in schools. I see, I hear stories about it where kids are afraid to give their opinions.
Even on college campuses, where speakers are told,
of course,
not invited.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah. Or there are riots when somebody comes to speak that they don't agree with. Good Lord. I mean, that's anti-American. I'm sorry, but people should be able to come somewhere and speak and give their opinion. You don't agree with them, fine, you can debate it, but let's not get violent, and let's not shame them into being quiet. And look, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely wrong for people to be abused, or for people to use their power of position, for nefarious reasons. Of course. I mean, who would say otherwise?
Right.
Right. But it's this whole politicization of I'm not saying the word, but politicization of these issues that's wrong, and it takes it to a different level.
Yeah. Well,
and I just want to say one more thing. I fear for the boys. Like, I fear for, my husband, my son, my brothers. If you were just accused of something and all of a sudden everybody says, well, if you're accused of it, it must be true. Yeah. What happened to due process? What happened to facts?
Right.
So I have a big issue with that.
Okay, listeners, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back right after this.
Passing a vehicle crash, keep your eyes on the traffic. Leave your phone alone, no photos, no video, no social media postings. Respect victims, protect the emergency responders. This is Mercer County Sheriff Jack Kemmler reminding you to leave your phone alone.
I'm Harvey from Bernie Robbins Jewelers. When you put one of our gift boxes in front of someone, magical things happen. Eyes light up. Big smiles appear. I mean, luxuriously crisp paper, iridescent copper ribbon, our orange monarch butterfly. Well, there doesn't even have to be anything in the box. Wait, what am I saying? I'm trying to sell jewelry here. Of course something has to be in it. But what? We'll help you with that. From an impromptu gesture to a milestone gift. At Bernie Robbins Jewelers, we've got your gift, and we've always got your back.
Tune in every Wednesday during Flyer season for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Host Paul Jolovitz is joined by co-host Bernie Perrott, Brad Marsh, or Scott Hartnell, and a different Flyers guest each week from a Chickies and Pete's location near you. Go to WBCBSports.com to learn more and watch the show live every week. On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, live from Chickies and Pete's every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on 610 ESPN and 1490 WBCB.
The life of a Philly sports fan is a wild ride. Some years we triumph, some years we trust. What never changes year after year is how we get to the game, shoulder to shoulder with our fellow fans on SEPTA. To the tailgate, kickoff, and back again, SEPTA's Broad Street line offers quick service and unbeatable convenience without the hassle of traffic and parking. Yes, the life of a Philly sports fan is a wild ride, but win or lose, we ride together. Get your ride started at iseptaphilly.com.
We now return to Opinions Matter, a look deep inside the local issues affecting Mercer County. Once again, here's your host, Joe Fabrizi.
Welcome back. We'll be here until 2 p.m. We are very fortunate to have Councilwoman Manzari from West Windsor live in the studio today. We did have a caller on the line, Sanjeeb. Are you still with us? I guess he's not. Anyway, if you're listening, you can call back. We're sorry we had to take a break, and sorry we didn't pick it up sooner. At any rate, before we went to break, and if anyone else would like to call, 215-949-3232. Before we went to break, we were talking about women in politics, and I'm about ready to ask the councilwoman her thoughts about former Governor Christie Whitman, who today would be considered a very moderate Republican, I would believe.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about Christie Whitman because she was a little bit before my time. I've lived here about 20 years in West Windsor. And before that, as I mentioned, I was in Pennsylvania. I didn't really follow politics. But I know we had talked a little bit before about, is the United States ready for a female president? And I'd say absolutely. I mean, women can do anything they want to do, and being president is certainly, on that list of things that if somebody wants to do that, they can do it. I was a big fan of Condoleezza Rice, and I thought she would have made a great presidential candidate, although I hear she didn't want to run. So,
well, we have a caller on the line. Sanjeev, are you with us?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Okay, your question or comment?
Yes, I do have a comment. You're interviewing a wonderful councilwoman, Virginia, actually. I know her very well. Hey, Virginia, how are you?
Hey, Sanjeev, how are you?
Good. And, Virginia is actually the voice of reason in our town. As you know, our town is very predominantly Democrat, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but, I mean, it is, I would say, far left in a way. And actually, even my parents are Democrats, but I'm a Republican. And I see Virginia as one of the centrist, moderate voices of reason within the town. She's very good, excellent lady who knows much about policy, very intelligent, and yeah, you have a great person you're interviewing right there.
Thank you, Sanjeev. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sanjeev is a frequent visitor to our council meetings.
Okay.
He stays very involved.
And I'm sure he's a contributor as well, right?
Well, contributor of great ideas. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Joe, I actually need to inform you. There are some people watching. Actually, someone posted up this link. The reason I found it out was because one of the far left people I mentioned posted it up on Facebook, and he actually invited people to troll this number or whatever. But I decided I would have Virginia's back by calling in and just putting in the truth out there about how good she is and how wonderful she is and how great at politics she is.
Okay, well, thanks for the call. Thanks again.
Yep.
All right, so you were talking a little bit about Condoleezza Rice, and do you think the U.S. is actually ready for a female president? I guess you would say she is.
I do, yeah. I mean, look, when I look at different jobs, and that includes political jobs, I don't think about whether the person's male or female. I think about whether or not they're good for that position. So where do they stand on the issues? Are they a person that follows through? Or are they a flip-flopper? Or, do they think independently, think outside of the box, and they try to come up with solutions? Or do they just rubber stamp what other people say? Right. And I think those things are far more important, whether somebody's male or female. I would much rather have somebody who is qualified and experienced and truthful than voting for them based on whether they're male, female, black, white, brown, what religion they are. Those things don't determine how you behave, and that's really what's most important, is how you behave in the job and what you can get accomplished, and how you're going to go after those issues. I mean, we were talking before about a lot of people can complain about issues and point out problems, but you really need people who come up with solutions and then can follow through on those. So that to me is much more important than any of those other sort of superficial things.
Very good logic, and I'm sure that's what's taking place according to your caller. At least he says you're applying that logic on council.
I try. Okay. I knew when I was elected that there would be a lot of votes that I would have to take where there wasn't really a good answer, and so I just try to use logic and do extra research and try to make the best choices possible.
So could you enlighten us a little bit about what's going on in West Windsor? The reason I ask this, and I asked your mayor this as well.
Okay.
And we hear so little from West Windsor. It must be functioning so smoothly.
We try.
You guys never make the news. I mean, a lot of the towns, like, the bigger towns, Hamilton and Trenton, of course, are always in the news, and not always in a positive way either.
Right. Well, I mean, we are a nonpartisan form of government in West Windsor. So
let's elaborate on that a little bit. So nonpartisan, when is the election held? How many council seats do we have? And we have a mayor-council form of government, even though it's nonpartisan. Am I correct?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
So we have one mayor and we have 5 council members.
Okay.
We do not run as a Republican or a Democrat. We run based on a slogan or an issue-based campaign. And what was the other question that you had asked me?
When is the election held?
The election is November, November 5th, I believe, Tuesday, and we have 3 council seats up. Mm-hmm. So there are. I am not up for re-election. I have 2 more years, and the mayor is not up for re-election. So there's just the 3 council seats. So, but that makes up a majority of council.
Okay.
3 of 5.
And can I ask you, do they run at large, or they run from a district?
So basically, you can run independently, or you can run as teams. So there are 2 teams of people running. So they're not from specific districts.
Okay.
They just represent West Windsor.
Okay.
And there are 2 teams. And again, they're not Republican or Democrat labeled, although oftentimes, I'll just tell you that a lot of times the Democrats will label themselves as Democrats in their materials because there are more Democrats, as Sanjeev had said, in West Windsor, and they want to use that to their advantage. Right. I've supported Republicans and Democrats in the past. I've supported mixed teams in the past. I've worked on a lot of different campaigns, just anywhere from going door to door, giving out information, to actually running campaigns. So, and again, I don't think the R or the D is the most important thing. When you're dealing with local issues, you're talking about protecting your schools. You're talking about overdevelopment problems, right? Causing problems in the schools and too much traffic and infrastructure issues, and keeping the roads and the sidewalks up, the upkeep on them and keeping them safe. And those are not R or D issues. They're local issues.
It's about money management, and it's about public safety.
Yeah.
And it's about who can oversee the job to get it done right, basically. Yeah. But then again, when you move on to higher office, and all politics is local, and money comes from, we need a lot of money. We were talking a little bit about higher office at some point, and you said, no, you're a naysayer. You said, nope, you're definitely ruling that out.
Yeah, I mean, I've been approached before to run for higher office, and I'm just not interested in doing it. And I don't consider myself a politician. Politics is really dirty, nasty business, and I don't have a great opinion of a, quote, politician, unquote. Right. I consider myself a volunteer, and I'm working for the township and for the residents. And in my opinion, all local politics should be nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. And when problem comes when people start to bring in national issues that are divisive, partisan issues into local government, all you're doing is upsetting one group or another, and you're dividing people, and that's what's wrong with politics these days. I mean, it's
a hard thing not to do that, though, in some instances, because most politicians, unlike yourself, they start out, let's say, on the school board, and then they run for council, and then either freeholder or assembly, and then on from there.
Right.
So, it's important for people to know a little bit about, your inner thoughts about other political issues maybe not affecting the town. And that's why probably people such as myself would ask you questions,
right,
to try to determine, where you are in the political landscape.
Right.
I know you're a Republican, but what type, how far, this and that and all that. So that's probably why. But you had mentioned, we talked a little bit about money and politics and so forth, and it's a dirty game and this and that and the other. But you realize under the Faulkner Act, and that's what all the towns operate under,
yeah, and
your town chose your form of government. There also are other alternatives, and where they can have districts, like we could have 4 council people running, let's say, in a district, and 1 at large, along with the mayor running at large, which in essence would take a lot of money out of the campaigns. And like in a larger town, it would allow better representation from the districts. And because you can get a concentration of elected officials living in one area.
Right.
See? And then suddenly the neighborhoods are not represented really well.
Right.
So those are things that, people should look at. And I think the law provides that, that the charter should be looked at every now and then. Like in Hamilton, I don't think we've had a charter study since 1976 when Mayor Rafferty changed from a committee form of government, when they changed it when Mayor Rafferty went over to the strong mayor council form of government that we now have today. So those are some of the things that, people out there in the towns and in our listening area in New Jersey, should understand and maybe take a look at that and approach their elected officials, because that's campaign finance reform in its simplest form. Mm-hmm. Doesn't require any law. I mean, it doesn't, no restrictions on the money, right? And basically it takes it out of the hands of the back room. The smoke-filled back room.
Right. Well, you know, in our campaign, we didn't take any money from any special interest groups at all. We were strongly opposed to overdevelopment and did not want to and refused to, and we've stood by this, will not rezone anything to allow housing. There's just too much rampant overdevelopment already. And so we wouldn't take money from anybody who could benefit from overdevelopment. And, you know, and we didn't take money from any political groups. We didn't run as Republicans. We didn't take money from Republicans. And, you know, we just didn't want to be beholden to anybody who would say, oh, you know, I gave you some money there, you know. And that's just sort of the way we decided to approach it and the way we've been living since then. And it's all just about following up on your principles.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Grammy-nominated global recording superstar Avril Lavigne performs October 11th. Country singer Aaron Lewis live October 20th. Nicole Byer from Nailed It on Netflix and MTV's Girl Code November 7th. Also at the Excite Center, Collective Soul October 3rd. Chris Young November 14th. John Cleese November 22nd. Leanne Rimes' You and Me and Christmas Tour December 5th. Tickets on sale now. Visit parkscasino.com. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All commentators heard on WBCB express their own views. Their opinions are not necessarily those of others on WBCB, including the staff and management.
We filmed Pennsylvania adoptive families and asked them why more people need to become foster or adoptive parents.
As a society, we have a responsibility to make sure every kid gets from being a kid to being a responsible adult.
I would encourage anybody to do it. You get so much more out of it than you expect.
Visit adoptpakids.org to watch the video, meet the kids, and learn how you can become a foster or adoptive parent.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Gwen Stefani returns to The Voice with Blake Kelly and John Legend. Will there be fireworks between Gwen and her man Blake?
You want to fight, Blakey?
Why are you doing this to me? I thought you loved me.
Then, Jimmy Smits and newcomer Caitlin McGee star in the inspiring new drama Bluff City Law.
If you fight for what's right, you can change the world.
Bluff City Law premieres after the return of The Voice with Gwen Stefani tonight on NBC.
Over-the-counter pain medications can be bought without a prescription and are intended to reduce fever and temporarily relieve minor aches and pains. There are two main types of over-the-counter pain medicines, acetaminophen and NSAIDs. Although both types of pain medications treat the same symptoms, they work in different ways and have different risks and benefits. That's why it's important to always read and follow the drug facts label on your medicine. If you have any questions, ask your healthcare professional or pharmacist.
We now return to Opinions Matter, a look deep inside the local issues affecting Mercer County. Once again, here's your host, Joe Fabrizi.
Welcome back. We'll be here until 2 p.m. Once again, we have Councilwoman Manzari from West Windsor Township in Mercer County live in the studio. If you'd like to join in, you can do so by calling 215-949-3232 with a question or a comment. And Councilwoman, I want to ask you your toughest moment on council thus far. What was the toughest thing that you encountered?
Gosh, well, I have to tell you, when I first started on council, I was excited because I thought I could do a lot with the budget. I have a lot of experience running large budgets, $100 million, $35 million, $65 million, big budgets. And our budget is about $40 million. So I thought, all right, I got this. And I had a lot of ideas. And every day my husband would come home from work and he'd see me poring over this gigantic binder with all the financials. And he said, are you secretly going to interview to be the CFO of the township or something? And I said, no, I just really want to do this right. And I took municipal budgeting class because it is different than corporate budgeting. And I had a list of ideas and questions and suggestions, and I think there were about 100 townships represented at this class, and I probably asked more questions than everybody else combined. And I kept, what about this? Well, what if we do this? And what if we structure it this way? And the answer to every single question was, no, you can't do that. It's against the law. The state won't allow it. So I was really, I have to tell you, that hit me hard. Like, I was really depressed for a good long while after that, because I realized that so many things our hands are tied on a municipal level because the state won't allow certain things. And these aren't like Ponzi schemes. I'm talking about just common sense.
Right. Well, municipal government, county government is a product of state government.
Yeah.
And it only takes 63 people in this state to create law.
Right.
That's
a little scary.
That. Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
So, what was your biggest accomplishment thus far?
Wow. Okay. Well,
I know. I mean, sometimes you say, "Well, how long have you been on it anyway?" By the way,
it'll be 2 years at the end of the year.
So, in 2 years, what can you look back on and say,
Right. So that having that realization about the budget was really a hard thing to swallow, but I realized very quickly that the biggest impact that we can have in West Windsor is shifting some of that tax burden from the residents to commercial properties, right, to businesses in town, right, and to the rateables. And West Windsor really has had a bad rap for being business friendly.
For housing?
So well, that's another story. But people were looking at West Windsor and they'd say, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to open my business in West Windsor. They're so difficult to deal with." Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do, and the mayor's been really making some headway on this, is making some changes in West Windsor to make it easier to open up a business and helping those businesses to thrive. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he actually came up with this idea for West Windsor Gives Back, which is just an organization of people, volunteers in town, and each year we would pick a nonprofit organization in town to basically promote them and raise money for them and get the awareness out about them. Last year we did it with the police. It was our police force's 50th anniversary in West Windsor, and so we had celebrations throughout the year, and we would go to all of the events. Some of them were already events that were going to take place anyway, like Community Day or National Night Out, and then there were others where we came up with additional events. So we did a dive into summer event at the pool, and it was all oriented toward getting the community out, getting people out, meeting each other, raising awareness for that group of people. So last year we celebrated their anniversary, and then raising money. And so what they did was the PBA bought drones, and the intent of the drones is to use them as tools for our police force and use the latest technology to in situations like trying to find lost children, trying to find lost seniors, investigating situations that could be dangerous where you don't want to put a human being's life on the line, so you send the drone in first. So that's what we did last year. This year, we're helping to raise funds for the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company. Fire companies these days, they have it tough. We were a farming town, and the fire department was the center of the town, right?
Just like Hamilton years ago.
Yeah, and they had all the events, and whenever there was something going on in the town, the fire company was sponsoring it, and they were involved in.
One thing I want to interrupt you for a moment.
Okay.
You mentioned fire districts, fire protection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're talking about a merger in Hamilton.
Right.
And one of the reasons they're talking about a paid fire department merged, municipal fire department, is because of the lack of volunteers.
Right.
And yet, in West Windsor, you guys function primarily with volunteers. Am I correct? Or am
Absolutely.
I wrong?
Yep. We have two fire companies, and they're all
community?
Volunteer. Two fire companies, and they're all volunteer. And I've got to tell you, the donations and the volunteers, the number of people who volunteer has been declining over the years because it used to be huge,
right,
and now it's harder to get people. But that's also part of what West Windsor Gives Back is trying to do this year, is to get the word out to people that they do need volunteers. The township provides for big capital expenditures like trucks, right? Fire trucks. But the fire company itself is run all on donations and by volunteers. And you don't have to just be a guy who runs into a burning building. They need administrative people. They need people to help set up events throughout the year that generate awareness about the fire company. So there's a lot of different ways you can volunteer.
So the local government's fostering that, right?
So this is just a separate group of people, just a group of volunteers.
Okay.
They decided on the name West Windsor Gives Back.
Okay.
It's all volunteer. It's not a nonprofit. It's just a group of individuals who raises awareness about a different group each year. And this year it's the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company. And we're encouraging people to donate to them. We've had a couple of events. We had this summer event, and now we have a big Mayor's Ball coming up in November 2nd.
Okay.
And we're getting sponsors from local businesses, and we're trying to raise money for them to purchase some safety equipment. It's basically they're called hydrofusion struts, which is a sort of a fancy name for like a vehicle stabilization kit.
Okay.
So if there's a couple cars or even a single car in an accident, sometimes they'll flip or they get mangled or what have you. The first responders go out there and they have to stabilize those vehicles before they can get in and pull people out. And it keeps our first responders safer, and it increases the chance of survival for the people who are trapped in the cars. And so that's what we're raising money for this year. So if anybody out there who's listening wants to get involved with West Windsor Gives Back or donate to the fire company or find out about volunteering for the fire company, please email www.givesback@gmail.com and we will direct you to the appropriate people.
Okay.
So we're not a nonprofit ourselves. We don't take any money. We don't have a bank account or anything like that. But we just help the other great organizations in town. And you had mentioned before about the other towns. I've seen some other towns transitioning to paid organizations and stuff. And I really think that's too bad. I mean, I don't think that's going to work out for those towns when they're transitioning to paid groups. I work a lot with both the fire companies and the police. I'm the the liaison to the emergency management group, and so I meet with these guys on a regular basis. I worked with the police closely last year, working with the fire company this year. My son volunteers at one of the fire companies as well as like a junior volunteer, and these guys are a team, man. It is so cool to see these guys out together. And they go out, and so we're responsible for Mercer County Park, and we have the lake, and so our guys have to go out and do water rescues. And the police were out there with the drones, helping the firefighters, basically sending the drone out first to look for people. And hey, if it's like a 75 or 80 degree day, it's sunny out, maybe it's not big of a deal. But if it's cold and icy, you could be saving a first responder's life using that drone. And the firefighters had, oh my gosh, so many great things to say about that. So it's really cool to see these guys working together. So,
Virginia, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah. You are a Republican. Are you a Republican committee person?
So I go to the committee meetings. I automatically get a vote as a council person.
I see.
So
so the Republican Party in Mercer County.
Yep.
It's really, I mean, who's running for county executive against Brian Hughes on the Republican side?
I don't know.
What you said that you don't know, and I
really don't know.
And isn't that a shame that here we are in a race for the county executive? You're an elected official.
Yep.
Here I am on the radio. Yep. I don't know who that person is, and you don't either.
Yep.
What's going on?
I don't know. It's a bit of a mess, and West Windsor tries to stay out of that.
Well, you guys are nonpartisan. You try to stay out of it.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I mean, you're a part of Mercer County.
Yep, we are.
Yeah.
We are indeed.
So, and as you know, I believe there's only two, Washington Town, Robbinsville. I stand corrected. Yep. I want to say Washington Township, but the name's been changed. Robbinsville and West Windsor really are the last. They're nonpartisan, but they're little R's basically.
Right.
And the rest of if Hamilton goes Democrat, the whole county is Democrat.
Yep.
Yep. So.
And I really.
Is that healthy? I don't know.
I don't think it is at all. I mean, I think it's a shame that. First of all, I think it's a shame that people just vote party line. You really should vote the individual and what that individual stands for and what the issues are. And when you're on the local level and even the county level, I just think, you got to put a little bit more thought into it.
Isn't competition the American way of life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then why don't we have that?
100%.
Why don't we have that in government
politics?
I don't
know. I know one of those founding fathers wasn't really thrilled about the two-party system, so maybe he had a point.
Maybe. I don't know. So, why is it there are no Republican challengers? Do you know why?
No, I don't. I haven't really been involved in any of those discussions.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the Hamilton mayoral race will determine in which direction
Gosh, that's anybody's guess. I mean, there's been a lot of crazy antics going on, and I've sort of only peripherally been watching that, and I guess that remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Something else. Your thoughts about Governor Murphy's directive regarding New Jersey becoming a sanctuary for illegals?
Okay, so first of all, whenever you're talking about illegals, that pretty much says it in the name there. They're already breaking the law. So I don't know why we are proposing sanctuary for people who are breaking the law. Is the next thing going to be, well, rapists are going to, have a free and easy pass? They're breaking the law. What about gang members or people who rob banks? I mean, you're breaking the law. Yes, what about drunk driving? I mean, if you're breaking the law, you shouldn't be given special passes. You shouldn't be given a driver's license. You're not a citizen. You shouldn't be allowed the right to vote. You're not a citizen. You shouldn't be protected from the police. You're not a citizen, and you're breaking the law. And last year there was a resolution that was circulated around. Nothing ever came of it, but it was basically to make West Windsor a sanctuary city, and the entire wording of it was basically undercutting the police.
Yeah.
The police have to be able to do their jobs. I mean, when you look around and you see that what happened in Texas just recently with that guy being shot in the back of the head. I mean, people aren't respecting the police anymore. They're not respecting the rule of law anymore. We have to protect these guys and have their backs, because that's who has our back. I mean, what do you do when you have a problem? You call 911, and guess what? That's who's coming to help you, is the police. So shouldn't you be on their side? I mean, West Windsor has amazing police officers. They have been doing community policing for years. They are major members of the community, and you got to support those guys.
We need to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Almost 2/3 of home fire deaths result from fires in homes with no smoke detectors or non-working smoke detectors. This is Mercer County Sheriff Jack Kemmler reminding you to install smoke detectors throughout your home or apartment and to change the batteries regularly.
Hi, this is Smiling Lou Powers, here to invite you to join us every Wednesday as we broadcast Sunshine Music Memories live from the Philadelphia Protestant home in the Northeast. We'll be playing the music that you remember in a setting you will love. Philadelphia Protestant home is located at 6500 Tabor Road in the Northeast, and I will be there live every Wednesday, 10 a.m. till noon. Come out and listen, dance, and make some new friends. Sunshine Music Memories live from the Philadelphia Protestant home every Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Experience the spirit of giving when you enter Flowers by Jenny Lynn. Whether it's for a wedding, a birthday, or just an I'm thinking of you, Flowers by Jenny Lynn has the perfect gift. Feast your eyes on the bright hues of the season in their fresh flower department. They also carry a wide variety of flowers daily from around the world, including tropical flowers, wildflowers, roses, and seasonal floral mixes for every taste. Flowers by Jenny Lynn also carries unique gifts like gourmet jams, candies, and cookies. Serving the area for over 25 years, Flowers by Jenny Lynn is your Fairless Hills florist. Stop by their beautiful shop to see for yourself, located at 100 Trenton Road in Fairless Hills, or check them out online at flowersbyjennylynn.com. Give them a call today at 1-800-547-4551. The number again is 1-800-547-4551. Flowers by Jenny Lynn, the art of fresh flowers.
We now return to Opinions Matter, a look deep inside the local issues affecting Mercer County. Once again, here's your host, Joe Fabrizi.
Welcome back. We'll be here until 2 p.m. I have Councilwoman Manzari from West Windsor Township in Mercer County here in the studio. We're talking about Mercer County, the condition of the county. We're talking about the sanctuary situation in New Jersey. All the towns are sanctuary towns. We're a sanctuary state. And talking about driver's license for illegals and the fact that if you live in New Jersey, you got to have like 6 points or something of information to get your license. And here they want to give an illegal license. And how do you do that? How do you even start? I don't even know how. Somebody sits in front of you. You're at a keyboard. Say, okay, how old are you? Well, what do? Take their word? What kind of documentation? You have to start somewhere. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Or you just hand it to them.
Yeah.
I don't see that that's being right. But anyway, I do want to mention that to everybody that's out there that's interested, that I did offer and I extended an invitation to both mayoral candidates from Hamilton to join in a debate here right in the studio. And they have about 4 dates as an option. and it'll be on a Monday, and an hour and a half. There'll be 8 questions, and there'll be an opening statement, 6 minutes, and a closing statement, 6 minutes. And they were given the topics. Of course, they weren't given the questions, just the topics, so they can do their homework. And I hope that they accept the offer. So just for anyone who's interested, is out there today listening, you want to spread the word to others as well. But anyway, back to West Windsor, and if Councilwoman, if you had to make a choice on either eliminating county government or municipal government, which one would it be?
Oh, county government, no question.
County government.
Yep.
Okay.
The county just keeps taking more and more money, and frankly, I don't know what they're doing with it. And I know they give it back to you in dribs and drabs, but as West Windsor never gets back their, fair share. Yeah, they're due. But yeah, I mean, I just think there's too many levels there.
Don't mean to interrupt you. We have a caller on the line. Clark, go ahead.
Hey, you were talking about the illegals. How do you feel about the census coming up? Not being able to ask a question, whether you're a citizen or not. And have any of you ever gotten that community, what do they call it?
Community survey.
Yes.
They basically threaten your life and your livelihood and your...
They'll come out and get you.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. I think it's horrible.
That is so invasive, the questions that are asked there, compared to what seems relatively innocuous on the census.
Yeah.
It's the upside downness of the lifetimes that we live in.
I 100% agree with you. When I first saw that survey, I thought it was a joke.
Yes.
And I Googled it, and I thought, oh, my God, this is actually a real thing. And they really are threatening these people if they don't give up this information. And it's so, again, it's anti-American. I can't believe it's happening.
But nobody brings that survey up.
Right.
But they bring up this, the census, which is just going to be a money grab to fund illegals in your area to get federal dollars.
Right. I mean, the census is supposed to be counting citizens of the United States. I don't understand why their definition is, you're there at that date in time. Like, why don't they do it based on your residence? Why do they do it based on where you are at a specific date and time? You could be on vacation, or
I don't know whether technically you're right on that.
Well, that's what the census lady told us when she came to the council, unless I'm remembering it incorrectly.
Well, I think that's where the technicality comes into play here. I think it's just to take account of the number of people that are here, but it doesn't parse whether you can put down whether you're citizens or not.
Right.
This is the protectiveness of the illegals that they say they won't answer the census.
Right.
Which also becomes a funding method by Washington that will redistribute federal dollars, which always comes down to a spending issue about everything.
Yeah. So Clark, goes back to my point. All politics is local, then, right? It starts there, and it comes. That's where it starts.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't come to local. It has to have an intermediary in between before it may seep down to the local area. I mean, how many times do you go to the state for local money? So it's controlled. In the intermediate levels. Does it go from the state to a county to the local government?
Sometimes in New Jersey, sometimes it goes directly to the municipality. Sometimes it goes to the county for the county to dole out.
Yeah, but there's always the middleman in between. It's all about the Benjamins, is what it comes down to. But if anybody gets that community survey thing, and if you read those questions that are on there, oh my God, is what it comes down to. And as you said, if you Google it, you hear that if you don't respond to it, you're going to get a visit.
Yep.
And you're threatened, basically, to respond to that. Because I know I sat on it for a while, but then I Googled it like you did. This goes back about 4 or 5 years ago, because it's done in between the 10-year census. It's just atrocious. The way things are handled, that's why people get so fed up with it.
I agree with you. I mean, it goes to overreach of government, which I am completely against. And you're right about having the question about illegals on if you're illegal or not. I don't understand why that's not on there. That should be the first question asked.
It's not a case of putting down that you're an illegal, But
whether you're a citizen or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point there. But, you know, the one side will say, well, they're not going to respond to it. Well, wait a minute. If I'm threatened on that community survey, why shouldn't they be threatened?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So, okay,
agree,
guys.
yeah.
So good points, Clark. Thanks for the call.
Right, bye.
Bye now. So we were talking about abolishing county government.
Yeah.
And you said...
Well, those freeholders are going to be knocking on my door later today.
I don't know. I think they've dealt with this before. I've had them on here, some of them, and I've thrown it out there, and they've heard it before. But Connecticut done away with it like in 1960.
Okay.
And the last time I checked, Connecticut's still part of the United States. It didn't float away. It's not out in the middle of the ocean.
Yep.
It's functioning well. And it's probably one of the, New Jersey's a wealthy state, that's for sure. I believe we're probably second or third. I'm not sure. Somewhere around there. But Connecticut, I know, does. The people up there do very well in Connecticut,
Yes, they do.
So, home rule, they chose home rule over regionalization. But home rule is expensive too, isn't it? You have a lot of towns to deal with.
Yeah. Well, I think you really need that connection with the residents. I mean, like I said before, I consider myself a volunteer, and I've been involved and sort of been listening and paying attention.
Can I stop you for a moment?
Yeah.
I agree. Maybe we need that connection. But do you think is it necessary to have East Windsor and West Windsor? After all, at one point, I believe it was Windsor.
Right. And isn't there a little place still called Windsor? There is.
Yeah.
There's East Windsor, West
and
Windsor,
then there's this other little donut
Windsor.
hole called Hightstown.
And yes, that's true. Yep.
Do we need all those? And I'm not suggesting that tomorrow, everything start going together, but at some point, shouldn't the legislature, the Senate and the Assembly start encouraging more so than they are now?
I don't know. I hadn't really given that any thought. That's an interesting question.
That's where all the money. I mean, look at all the duplication, triplication in government.
Yeah.
Look at all these fiefdoms that we have to. Look at all the patronage that goes with every one of these little towns.
Yeah. I still think getting rid of the middleman is a better idea than getting rid of the towns, though. I mean, you have a duplication of efforts, and we basically are paying money into them, and then they're giving it back to us. What's the point of that? So. That's pretty much how I look at that.
All right, interesting. So, if what are your thoughts about the school board consolidations? What about that?
Well, our school district is rather large already. We've got 10,000 students, and that's going to go up because we have a lot of development, obviously going on in West Windsor with the affordable housing mandate. So, I could not see us joining up with another district. I mean, I just think that would be the wrong choice. So I don't know about. I mean, maybe there are some other townships that have, that are much smaller, and maybe it makes sense for them.
Yeah, we have we have many more school districts than we do towns. So that you realize that. And again, each situation is different.
Yeah.
So that's definitely. What about the way we build schools?
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, for instance, if you go to McDonald's or you go to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, everyone, you can be in South Carolina and you look and you go, whoa, there's a Dunkin' Donuts. You don't even have to you just know by the color. You'll just know, okay? Because they use the same template over and again when they build. All right?
I see.
Same set of plans.
Okay.
All right. We use a prototype. All right. And yet, when we build schools, everyone is a Taj Mahal. Okay.
Right.
And it has a lot to do with, the engineering and everything else. Anyway, we're getting to the top of the hour, and I really.
Oh my gosh!
You have something real quick to say?
Oh no, just thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed myself. That flew by.
It flies by. It really does. And listeners, remember, until the next time, your opinion does matter. Take care.
1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton.